CoreWeave just ripped 20% in a week after a brutal 40% drop from its highs, and this sudden rebound isn't random. A new AI investment just flipped the momentum and Wall Street is reacting fast. So is this the start of a major comeback or just a dead cat bounce? In this video, we're breaking down the key buy zones, major resistance levels, and exactly where the smart money has been positioning on CoreWeave. From volume profiles to trend structure, we're going to map out the levels that actually matter so that you can understand what's driving the price action. So let's jump into the charts and see where CoreWeave could be headed next. Alright traders, so let's start off with the daily chart here of CoreWeave. And looking, for example, at the key stats, we see that the volume has dropped here from the average around being 28 million shares to 20 million. The market cap of the company is still 44 billion, and what's been driving this uncertainty has been the overall earnings. We do see volatility with not a concise trend here, especially on their EPS, right? If we look here a little bit deeper, we look at their income statement on the annual, they're actually looking to finally make some revenue, although they are still losing here with their net income, and the margins are increasing here. They were from negative 259% to overall negative 45%, which is still some increase, but still the stock is well overperforming the market, being up year to date 126% here. A lot of technicals saying it's a neutral. We'll see more about that. And there's a lot of analyst ratings saying that the stock is actually, it should be trading at $129, which would be around 46% increase here from the current price levels. So let's actually take a closer look at the chart and see where this has the potential to go. Over the past couple of trading sessions, we've been seeing a lot of negativity, right? But now we are starting to see an overall bounce here at the levels of around $64 right here. This level initiated a lot of buying momentum since we saw a lot of lower wicks here at the lower level. So we saw this candle, lower wick, and lower wick. And we finally saw an upside break here, connection. Let's say we're looking to rally towards the 50 EMA here, which is where I believe that we're going to be encountering some short-term resistance, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back to a key area of support here. Now, something that I want to do here, is since this was an important low, is that we'll plot an anchored VWAP from this low, from when the buyers emerge. We'll put that as green. And I believe that if we continue seeing something like this, right, so the upside momentum all the way towards a 50, we continue seeing that up momentum, we go towards a 50 EMA, we do see maybe some sort of short-term rejection, and then we pull back towards this anchored VWAP here, this overall line that we see here. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes like that. We find some buyers here that can't sustain that momentum. We undercut it, and then we trigger even more upside, more buying, right? And finally making that structure that is so needed for the uptrend, which would be higher highs and higher lows right there, which would continue even higher though. But so far, there's been a lot of overall bearishness in the stock, even though we are seeing the short-term bounce that we've seen around this general zone, because we are below the 50 MA. And this is something really important to acknowledge because that is a short-term moving average. Generally, when we do fall below it, we do see the continued sell-offs, just like how we saw in this general zone here, all the way towards this low, which is where we found the overall bottom. And also levels are encountering the same level here. So there's a lot of resistance at this general zone, and I'll tell you guys why. For example, this red little anchored VWAP here is the IPO anchored VWAP. So we know that CoreWeave IPO'd on the 28th of March of 2025, so this year, and we are pretty much below that, showing that on average, the people that went long on this date are actually losing money here. And also this blue anchored VWAP comes from this overall swing high, and that also manages to be the overall levels of confluence here between 114 and 109. That little bit of a spread is just, a little bit of uncertainty here, but that is where we may find some, heavy resistance. And if we do break above it, then that would signal just a continuation of the upside here on CoreWeave. We also saw that this low may be the initiation of the uptrend because we encountered the RSI levels here. We started to get a little bit of a flashing sign that the stock was pretty much oversold. It was going down way too fast and it got overextended, and that's where we saw a bounce. So we finally recuperated the RSI above this overall EMA here that is starting to curl now. EMA is around 30, the RSI is around 48, and as we know, if we look at prior sessions here on the daily, when we were pretty much at the all-time highs here around 119 bucks, We did get the warning sign that the stock was being overbought, and that was an extreme, level that we should have, taken some profits here, and that exited the position, obviously. But now it's looking like a low has been forming, right? So that is very important and very good news. Now, to be fully bullish on this name, we'd have to see something like the following. So I plot, let's say, an anchored view, obviously, from this high here, right, which is the most pretty much high that we've seen, which is right here. And look at that. It forms confluence, or it matches exactly at the 50 MA. So we would probably see some rejection of the 50 MA like that, pull back, we find a higher high, and then we would have to break above this overall level of resistance to continue, maybe come back and test it, and then continue towards the upside, right? So maybe we'll be seeing something like this. It starts to curl, and this would be our entry signal, maybe around this general zone here. You can buy any time here, or maybe at the pullback zone, and strength there, which would trigger towards the upside. I believe that the stock can achieve its highs. That would be my first price target of around $186. We'll put that as red, signify resistance. That would be my first price target there. Maybe secondary would be around this general other area of resistance, right? Because we would pretty much be from $88 to 152. That is, pretty much, pretty big move, around 70%. We would be prone for a pullback, but it can go to 153. This does depend, obviously, on the overall macroeconomic sentiment of the market and how the market decides to factor in this new AI growth, and especially the new deals that CoreWeave has been printing most recently, especially with OpenAI. See, even looking now towards the hourly chart, we can see that this, swing low that we plotted has been very important for CoreWeave, because that is where the buyers have been emerging each and every single time that we tend to pull back. For example, right, we've had this low at around the $66 level. We bid up, we find some selling, some resistance, we encounter support there. You can see by the intense lower wicks, we come up, we pull back, find buyers exactly at that level again, pull up, and we find buyers again. So I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, when we do find that short-term resistance, maybe at the 50, around the zone of maybe 97 to 102 here on the hourly, we pull back either towards a 50 or towards this swing low anchored VWAP, which we've been finding support around 1, 2, 3 times here over the past couple of trading sessions since the low that was formed here on the 21st of November. Now, we also have to acknowledge that CoreWeave has been experiencing, very heavy downside. We can see here from this initiation of the short term, the 10th of November, pretty much had the whole month selling off all the way towards that low. So we do want to be, very careful. And we know that there's a lot of, price memory up here at these general zones, like I said, so around this zone, because that's where a lot of sellers came in. So we just have to acknowledge that there's still upside on this stock, obviously, which would be around 24%, maybe around 30% here. But we, should expect some type of pullback, which would initiate, obviously, form that higher high formation, and then pull back to form that higher low. That would be, very important here for CoreWeave. So we'll put that here. So it would be a higher high formation, and then we come over here, and that would be the pullback. Wouldn't be the end of the trend. It would just be a higher low formation, seeing the continuation of the uptrend on CoreWeave. All right, investors, that wraps up our technical breakdown of CoreWeave. We've mapped out the key buy zones, the resistance levels to watch, and where the smart money has been stepping in. But remember, these setups only matter if you stay ahead of the next move. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you never miss our next deep dive into high momentum AI stocks. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.